from the broadcast studio, hitting in the static. This ain't no bedtime story, son, it's prophetic. Encrypted signals from the shadows of the garden. We dig where the dirt got secrets, no parting. Microphone alchemist, scriptures with a twist. Peep the frequency, seeds in the mist. We drop bars like plagues, revelations in the cadence. Broadcasting truth while they trapped in surveillance. Wisdom with a watchman's blade. Fourth watch style while your whole system fade. Blood moons, Nephilim, echoes in the pine. Sasquatch stomping through the fault lines of time. We ain't mainstream, we ancient stream. Cipher with the prophets, decode the dream. So if you tuned in, better guard your mind. It's broadcasting seeds and we breaking the design.
All right. Chuckie Danger. Tell us, I just told them who you are, but tell us who you are, what you do, and where we can find you.
Hi, I am Chuckie Danger, and I am the host of the Danger Zone podcast with Chuckie Danger. It's a new project of mine that I just started up. I was co-hosting on the Countercult podcast before this, so I've kind of been in the realm for a little while. I'm an amateur nature photographer and hunter, fisher. I'm pretty outdoorsy. I also like to research in the ultraviolet spectrum. So I find all kinds of cool information about that, and it really expands the horizons of thought as per what is possible. And I try to apply that to the paranormal. So that's kind of who I am.
Yeah, so why the ultraviolet spectrum? But what about infrared? What about the other side?
Infrared too, yes. It's
Okay.
just the ultraviolet stuff is a lot easier to observe, I guess.
It's a lot cheaper too.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I do have an IR monocle.
Yeah, monocular, whatever.
That's the word I was going for.
I know, it's a tough one.
And, I think I just bought a cheap one, and it's not it didn't get me the results I really wanted.
Gotcha. So I'm one of my businesses, that's one of our main things is infrared technology. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. This, I was just wondering, because it's the complete opposite end of the spectrum.
Wow.
So,
I mean, the infrared seems to get you really deep into the realm of the UFO subject.
Yeah.
I have a good friend of mine who's also a podcast host, Brent Thomas from the Paranormal Portal.
Okay.
And he actually had a really cool encounter where he was staying at his boss's house in the cabin out in the woods for a job. And he had a expensive pair of infrared binoculars. And he took it out one evening to look at the stars because you can see 4 times as many stars because they're all infrared.
And they're just soaking it in.
Yeah. So he went out on the back deck to do that. And as he's looking around the treetops and stuff, he notices there's a UFO. And when he takes the binoculars down, he can't see anything.
Wow,
but when he puts the binoculars
crazy.
back up, he can see it again. And, he kind of just observed it for a little bit and is like, I don't need to be standing out here and getting abducted because I'm the only thing out in this valley.
Yeah, right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So tell us what got you into this strange world that we are in with Bigfoot and Sasquatch and UFOs and paranormal high strangeness.
Well, I mean, I had experiences kind of my whole life. But what really got me into the podcasting world was the lockdown. I had never heard of a podcast before, and my ex-wife suggested that I listen to a podcast at work instead of music all day. And I gave it a try, and she suggested an X-Men podcast or something like that. And I wasn't really into the science fiction stuff like that. So
right.
I was like, well, I'd like to hear some stories. And I always loved watching Monster Quest growing up. So I'm like, well, what about Bigfoot? Like maybe there's a Bigfoot podcast out there. So I type that in and I get Sasquatch Chronicles.
Okay.
Right. And so that was my gateway drug. And as I'm
he's out
listening
in
to
your neck of the woods ish.
Washington. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean,
close enough.
The West Coast. We'll just say the West Coast.
Yeah.
Same
and
time
so
zone, right?
I had all these experiences in my past that I never associated to Sasquatch.
All right.
And when I started listening to all these experiencer stories, I noticed how similar they were to unexplained stuff I had out camping and whatnot, and even out in my hunting spots. So I start putting the pieces together and go, oh, I need to like reevaluate like everything I've experienced. So I'll run you back to some of these experiences. So we were out camping one time, and this is just up the hill from where I live. It's a nice private lake that's on the back end of my hunting area, and there's a provincial campground there that you don't have to pay for. And they've deactivated the road since, but back in the day, you could just go there and you wouldn't see another soul. So me and my friends would just go there and we'd camp and party there on the weekends, and it was a great time. So one night, me and my friend Sheldon, we were out. We wanted to go spearfishing at night, so we took our flashlights, made some homemade spears out of a willow tree, kind of thing, just like totally redneck in it.
Right.
And we went out to where the creek runs into the lake. And we're looking for carp in the shallows, and we're about waist deep in the water. And we start hearing this wild boar type snarling from up the creek draw. And both of us are like longtime hunters, and we're looking at each other and we're like, I don't know what that is. Do you know what that is? And he's like, no, I don't know what that is, because we don't have wild boar here in British Columbia.
Right.
And so we both were getting a little bit weirded out, and we're like, well, I don't want to be like waist deep in the lake if this thing comes out at us. So we kind of just go back to camp and like stay huddled around the fire with everyone else, just safety in numbers kind of thing. And kind of forgot about it. And then on Sasquatch Chronicles, I hear about Sasquatch mimicking other animals. And sometimes it's reported that they mimic the snarling of wild boar, which kind of weird. So a little bit later from that, I bought my first trail camera, and I go and set it up on this hillside. It's above this lake. So it's at the top of this hill. And me and my dad hunt this one spot where it's super steep and it benches off a few times. And no sane human goes in there because the bush is so thick and it's so steep. And if you do shoot a deer, it's a lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's just like a hellhole, but you get really nice bucks. And I went out in the summer to set up my trail camera that I just bought, really excited. I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to out hunt dad because I'm going to set up my trail camera and I'm going to find the good ones. Yeah. And, I did a little bit of research on trail cameras and wildlife, and I found out that bears can actually smell the battery acid in them, and they think it's an ant colony, and that's why bears will trash your trail cameras. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll just set mine up real high and I'll angle it downward with a piece of wood so I can look at the trail. So I climb up this, I think I set it up in a fir tree, and I angle it down with a piece of dead wood from the trail, and I leave it there for a month. And I come back with one of my best friends and an ex-girlfriend, and we go to check the SIM card. And I get to the spot where this trail camera was set up, and it's gone. And all I see is the strap that is hanging off of like a shred of bark that like snagged it. And so the buckle on it had actually been broken. It wasn't just unclipped, it was broken. And the camera is gone. I'm pissed because like I just
Yeah,
bought
right.
this thing. And
They're not
so
cheap either. It's not like,
no. And so I start doing this circle around the tree looking for this camera because I'm like, well, maybe someone stole it, but like the broken buckle,
right.
I don't know. Maybe that's an animal. And so I'm circling around this tree and I do find my camera. And there's a fallen over tree kind of like 20 yards downhill with another one kind of fallen over beside it, making like a V. And inside of this V was my trail camera with the lens facing the sky, and the cover was actually open. But on this particular trail camera, there's two latches on the side
Yeah.
that are actually pretty tight to unlatch and then open up that case to get at the buttons and the SIM card and everything. So you need fingers and thumbs to do that.
Yeah, right.
There
Yeah,
was
I
no
have one
claw
too.
marks.
That's on mine. They pop on the side. There's two of them.
Yeah, they're finicky.
Yeah.
So there's no claw marks, there's no bite marks on the casing of this, suggesting that an animal tried to like force it open. My SIM card is still there, and it's just facing the sky. So I pulled out the SIM card and I plugged it into my camera, and I have 4 photos on it from that whole month. And I was like, well, that's strange. So I'm looking at the photos, and there's 2 from the very next day after I set it up. And it's showing the trail. And in the very bottom left-hand corner of the screen, you see a tuft of like brown hair. And then in the second frame, or the second shot, you see that tuft of hair kind of more in the center of the shot. And then the third and fourth pictures are just of sky. And there was just nothing after that. So it almost seems like something came up from behind the tree, reached around, pulled it off the tree, and then set it somewhere where it couldn't bother the trail. Because it was a heavily active game trail.
Yeah, and you had it up kind of high. So
Mm-hmm.
the hell.
It was really strange.
I mean, there are stories and there are videos, and I don't know how good they are or real, but there are videos and pictures from people that have set trail cams like up in the tree, like on a branch, right?
Yeah.
But who knows, right? But that's the same kind of thing. And there's also stories of them getting pulled down and tossed. So
Yep. There
wow.
is. And I have a good explanation for why.
Okay.
So as I'm diving into this Sasquatch rabbit hole and I'm putting all these pieces together, I learned that Sasquatch like to mimic owls.
Yes, they do.
And then I was like, oh shit. Because we went camping out on Maylong one year on the mountain range next to where this is. So it's only across the valley kind of thing. And up in the mountains there's 2 secluded lakes that you could go camping and you didn't have to pay for again, and you wouldn't see anybody. And we knew we were the first people there because we were pushing through snow that was still on the road. So there was no tire tracks, nothing. We get into this campsite and we just start having fun, right? I was probably 19 or 20 at the time. And, we go out fishing, we're shooting potato cannons across the lake.
Right.
We're playing music out of our trucks real loud. Like, we're not being quiet. And about the 3rd night there, I'm like, I'm going to do my party trick and I'm going to go to the edge of the lake and I'm going to see if there's an owl around here. So I do a great horned owl call. And I get a response kind of on the left-hand side of the lake, about the midway point, pretty quickly actually. And so I'm like, well, that's fun. So I do my call again, and it's hooting back to me. And then on the very back end of the lake, there's another owl. And on the right-hand side of the lake, there's another owl. And then there's a trail that takes you 200 yards through this swamp over to the next lake. And it's a little bit smaller, but there's 2 or 3 owls hooting over there. And all in all, you could hear about a dozen owls going off at the same time. And I
A
just
half
thought that was
dozen.
a whole dozen.
Oh my goodness. But that's like, no. Nope.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And at the time, I just thought it was like super rare and unusual. I wasn't thinking Sasquatch. And one of the girls that was there came up to me and she's like, "Can you please stop that? It's starting to scare me." I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I had my fun. I don't need to do this anymore." And so we all go back to the fire. But as I'm walking away and I stop calling, that very first one that responded to me, it kind of devolved into this mix between a kookaburra and a chimpanzee,
Oh
just like
shit. Yes.
a really quick chatter.
Yeah. I know. I know exactly what you're saying. I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like it started like so many times we'll hear. So around us, it's barred owls.
Sure.
And they have wanky calls anyway. Like, and sometimes they can sound like monkeys for sure.
Yeah.
But, usually there's like 1 or 2, maybe 3 barred owls in an area. And they'll, once they start up, they kind of start clicking. But,
Sure.
and I can imagine great horned owls. I don't think you'd have a dozen within like calling range of each other.
The most I've ever heard other than this has been 2 at a time.
Right. And that's what I mean. They're on the rarer side anyway. I mean, they're huge freaking birds.
Yes.
But yeah, like the barred owls, I remember one night similar, just like a dozen. It was insane. And we're like, there's no way this is all owls. There's no way. So
Yeah, I just thought they were stupid owls. And then when that one started to chatter, I'm like, well, this one sounds retarded.
yes, exactly. It's freaking retarded owl.
So
Yeah.
I didn't think Sasquatch. And then, we just went about our night and we're still playing music out of the truck. And, most people go to bed and there's 4 of us up around the fire at like 4 a.m. We're just like having that heart to heart around the fire. And we're all parked in this big semicircle around this gravel parking lot. And that's kind of at our back. And as we're talking, we hear very quick running across the gravel. And then this really deep guttural just, and then nothing. And so we grab our flashlights and we're looking around behind us, freaking out.
Yeah.
And we don't see anything. And we just thought maybe it was like a deranged coyote or maybe one of the people in camp trying to play a trick on us. But like everyone was passed out and like snoring in their tents. Like we didn't have a good explanation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then only when I was listening to Sasquatch Chronicles do I find out that Sasquatch mimic owls. They bluff charge.
Oh yeah.
And there was one particular episode that really gave me chills because the guy was saying he was on a river trip somewhere and he was talking to an owl and he said, and then it changed its call and it sounded like a mix between a kookaburra and a chimpanzee. And I was like, oh, geez, that's how I said it.
Exactly. Right.
So I'm like,
Kookaburra and a chimpanzee.
I was like,
That's awesome.
that's got to be what that was.
Wow.
And I think he actually saw the thing and I'm like, if that's what made that noise, then that's probably what was in the camp that night. And I mean, as the crow flies, it's not very far away from these other encounters that I've had.
Yeah.
And then 2 years ago, I ordered a rifle scope for my 30-06. And I was kind of doing like a bit of a custom build on my rifle.
Mhm.
And I ordered a Trigicon scope with the illuminated reticle. And it got to me a little bit late in the mail. So it arrived mid-October. So hunting season's already well on its way. And I was working 4 10-hour shifts at the time. So I had Fridays off. So I dropped my kid off at school and I take my rifle out around 11 o'clock, go sight it out in the woods. So I bring a little cardboard box and put a stick on target on it. And I respectfully left enough time that the morning hunters could have a fair shot at a morning hunt with some silence. So I head out there. I find this nice hillside where I know where my bullet's traveling. I put the cardboard box on top of a little sapling and I just start shooting, zeroing in my crosshairs. And I must have shot about a dozen rounds into this thing. And as I'm letting my barrel cool off and I'm kind of looking down my rifle scope at the target, I notice at the very top of the hill, there's this big cedar tree that's just whipping back and forth violently. And it is not a windy day.
Right. Wow.
And, you know, this is in the middle of a very overgrown and very messy cut block.
Yeah.
So a human getting in there very easily, no way. Like the moose and deer do go through there, but a moose and a deer aren't going to be pushing a tree like that.
Mhm.
And neither is a bear.
Especially not back and forth.
Yeah. I mean, it was absolutely whipping back and forth.
Mm.
And even though I had that rifle in my hand and I felt pretty good with the accuracy of this thing, I didn't want to go climb that hill and go see what was doing that.
Right. I can imagine. Right.
So I plunked like 2 more rounds into the box just to like make sure that I'm zeroed in. And then I very cautiously went out and grabbed my box and got out of there. But it always made me curious, like, what did that? Because a human, I don't think, could possess the strength to do that. And you'd almost have to like back a truck up to this a tree and give it a couple pushes kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like some serious push power. And so I went back in the spring and I just wanted to take some perspective photos. So I go down to where I was shooting from. I photographed the tree from where I was shooting. I climb the hill. I take a photo at the base of the tree. And I find out that there's a whole bunch of cedar saplings at the base of the tree. And so even if I did climb the hill, I wouldn't have seen what was at the base of this thing.
Right.
And it's about an 8 to 9 inch in diameter tree. So it's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Like I tried shaking it and, you know, you can kind of wiggle a branch or something,
Right.
but
But
you're not whipping the trunk back and forth.
no.
So I had no idea.
Mhm.
And I kind of just go into hunter mode at that point because, you know, I'm like, well, I don't really have an answer. And I'm looking around the cut block and I'm seeing all this feed in the block that had been browsed on. I'm like, okay, well, the deer are in here and they're using the block. So that's good. Like I'll see like what kind of signs around. And I find a moose bed just kind of north of there a little bit. And I'm looking around and it's seeing if it's an old one or a new one. And I find a couple moose hairs in it. I'm like, okay, well, it's fresh. And as I'm down there on my knees looking at the ground, like it's in a rotten log, so it's all that sawdusty mulch.
Yeah.
I noticed there's a big footprint in this mulch. and it's humanoid. And it's about 14 inches long and 5 inches wide, but it's like heavily weathered. Like it's been out all winter kind of thing. And then I'm like, this is just beside this tree. Like, what if, what if this is what shook that tree?
Yeah.
Because no sane human is going to go barefoot in
No. Hell no.
a
Especially one with a
heavily,
14-inch foot,
yeah.
right? Because that's like less than 1% of the population.
I mean, I wear a size 11 and I put it beside it and it was still bigger than my foot.
Heck yeah. So,
So, but all of this is like such close proximity to every encounter. So the tree shaking was about 200 yards away from where the trail camera got ripped off the tree. I could throw a rock and almost hit it.
yeah.
And down the hill from there is the other lake where the wild boar sounds were happening.
Yeah.
And then you cross the valley and go up the next mountain range. And then that's where the owl hooting and the bluff charge happened. So it seems like it's a very active area.
Absolutely. Any other incidents there?
I've noticed when I'm hunting that I'll be looking for browse levels in the cut blocks and on the sides of the road and stuff. So I can see where the deer have been feeding, especially on like the willow trees and whatnot. They'll browse down at the bottom and you can see where they nibble off the ends of the branches. And then above that, you can see where the moose have been feeding because they can reach a bit further and they pull off a lot more than the deer do. And then I noticed above where the moose can reach, there's these branches that have been stripped bare of leaves, but the ends of the branches aren't nibbled on. So it's almost like something grabbed the branch and pulled all the leaves off. But it's at a much higher level than what the deer or moose can reach.
Why would they do that?
Well, I mean, willow is a natural aspirin, but it's also good feed for those animals. So this kind of takes me into my ultraviolet study.
Okay.
Because while I was listening to all these Sasquatch stories, I hear all these accounts of stories of eye shine and eye glow. And that usually gets lumped into the woo-woo category.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, no, there's got to be a good explanation for this. And there's got to be an answer that makes sense. And so I started looking around at, they seem to be nocturnal mostly. And, well, how do they see in the dark? Like, what are they using as a light source? Like, they got to have nocturnal-like eyes. So what do the nocturnal animals in the forest around here do? And I find this really cool study on owls where they spread out their wings and they're looking at the flight feathers. So they take an owl from one town and then they go into the next town and take another owl, the same species. And then the next town over, they'll take another one. And when they put the ultraviolet flashlight on them, the flight feathers will fluoresce in different banding depending on where they come from. So they have this really cool way. Yeah. They have this really cool way of communicating with each other while in flight. And so that really fascinated me. I'm like, well, obviously they're able to see this, and they're able to see this in the ultraviolet light. It's like, what else in the ultraviolet light does this that is nocturnal? And then I find a picture of a flying squirrel. Now, what we see is just a plain old gray and brown little critter. And the flying squirrel only really comes out at night. But when you put them under ultraviolet light, they pop off with all kinds of color. they go pink, they go orange, they go blue. Like just totally disco colors. And so when they're gliding from tree to tree, they're super colorful in the UV spectrum. But to everything that can't see that, they're oblivious.
Yeah. That's
So
crazy.
it's like, well, why do they do this? And most of the time it seems to be communication and breeding purposes. Like I found out that birds are really good at seeing UV, and so are insects. And I've kind of debunked the myth of mosquitoes um, honing in on you from your carbon dioxide in your
Right.
breath.
Yeah.
What they're actually seeing is the ultraviolet light that your body emits. Because I found out that every living thing on this planet emits ultraviolet light.
Yeah.
So when you get out of your truck and the wind's in your face, and all of a sudden you're hit with a swarm of mosquitoes that are coming from upwind, it's because they can see you, not smell you.
Not smell you. Right.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it poses a lot of advantage to be able to see in this ultraviolet spectrum. Doug Hychek did this really cool study on grizzly bears and caribou, where he found out they can see it as well. And they use it for browsing on plants.
Mm.
So what this does is you can actually see the protein and sugar content in plants with the ultraviolet spectrum that they fluoresce in.
Okay.
So the more mature a plant is, like when it's at its most nutritious, the leaves will go from like a green color, and if you put the UV on it, they're like very red.
Mm.
And I kind of did a control of that. So I used to live on a farm, and I'd look at regular plants like grass and weeds and all that, and then there was also cow corn growing in the field and alfalfa. And I know that those are used as feed for the animals, so they've got to be nutritionally viable. And the UV definitely agreed with the study that they showed that the more nutritional plants pop off in a much brighter red than everything else. Corn even goes this really cool blue color, like the leaves,
Yeah.
which kind of leads to the saying of a bluegrass,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So even those old-timey phrases have some hidden meaning to them,
Hmm.
I found.
Yeah, that's wild.
So this UV also poses like a really good advantage for finding food. So communication, finding food, um, and then I think there's a language aspect to this as well, because a lot of stories of people leaving gifting sites, uh, the Sasquatch, if they're going to leave something in return, it's often a rock, a feather, or a bone, right? And so the feathers for sure will fluoresce depending on the bird it comes from. And the bones should fluoresce as well because they're usually bleached white that they get in return. So that'll have a UV signature as well. Your bones in your body kind of work like a LED. So in humans, our bones emit a dull red, browny kind of ultraviolet signature, which is really cool. But it's super hard for us to see without specialized
Yeah,
equipment.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
I know there's
And then the
people that
rock.
can see. I mean, I don't think it's full like UV, but they can definitely see more into that spectrum.
Correct.
That's got to be wild.
And then you get abilities like synesthesia and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that as well. But the rock aspect of it, there's certain minerals that will fluoresce like very vividly.
Mhm.
This necklace that I'm wearing, it's called a euperlite, and to the human eye, it just looks like granite. But when you put that in the UV light, it will fluoresce bright orange like a burning ember out of a fire.
Yeah.
So it's got an incredible UV signature. Now, what I propose is that if Sasquatch is leaving these rocks, what if they're the fluorescent ones and not just a regular mundane rock? Like that would be an extra level of communication that they're trying to
Yeah.
come across, which is really a fascinating thing to ponder.
Mhm.
Like, are they trying to say something special to us instead of like, oh, here's just a rock for that food?
Right. Or whatever.
I
Yeah.
mean,
I
even when it
just,
comes to rock throwing,
yeah,
um, if those rocks that they're throwing are the ones that glow, that would look like a tracer bullet in the night.
it would. You're right. I just
So it
put a
would,
bunch of rocks out
yeah.
on a gifting stump. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they look like under a UV light. I wonder. Hmm.
The Sasquatch themselves.
No, the rocks that I put out because they're actually like
Oh,
polished stones. So I wonder.
right.
I
Well, you could do a control. You could get a UV flashlight
Yep.
and you could find the ones that do and the ones that don't. And you could say, okay, well, I know these ones don't and these ones do. And if certain ones get taken, for instance,
Yeah.
you'd be able to do that control
Yeah. I
study.
just wrote down UV light. So buy one. Because the types that I put out two that were calcite, different types
Oh,
of calcite.
calcite will fluoresce for sure.
And then a type of it's a smoky quartz, and
Probably won't.
then a red jasper.
Probably won't as well.
Yeah. So
If it's got higher iron content in it, it doesn't seem to fluoresce.
yeah, and one of them's identical to this.
Okay.
So
The calcite for sure will.
yeah,
Calcite actually has a really cool property called phosphorescence,
yeah, phosphorus. So
where
I again I do that with my we make yeah. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt.
oh, it's okay. You put the UV light on it and it will fluoresce like any other fluorescent stone. But when you're in the complete dark and you turn off that UV light, it will hold a little bit of glowing
Yeah,
glint in the dark for just like a couple seconds.
yeah. So we have a product called Cold Fire. That's its name. And it's well, the one that we make actually fluoresces only in the infrared spectrum.
Oh, cool.
So, but if you just hold a flashlight to it, it's like the stars that you put on your ceiling and you charge them up.
Yeah,
Um, and we impregnate that in patches, but it's not visible to the naked eye. It's only infrared. But it would be
that's
cool to
super
do the
cool.
same type of thing with like UV. So you got me thinking. Yeah. So there's one of the calcite pieces. So I could see how that would like light right up.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And some of them go in really cool colors. Like, I've got some calcites that will go like a hot lemonade pink.
I wonder because I have a few different shades. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
You got me
And
thinking.
some go green, some go blue, some go orange. Like there's a wide variety depending on the mineral composition. Um, which, does Sasquatch hold that sacred? Like
Yeah, maybe.
I've also heard of them using boulders as trail markers.
Mhm.
Like they'll just move a rock and put it on a stump or whatnot, and they're usually white rocks. And what if these are the ones that are fluorescing? That would be like a blazing, shining sign in the night
Yeah, for
when
sure.
you're walking through the
Absolutely, for
woods.
sure. Yeah, I'm just
Hmm.
trying to think. Guys, I'm pretty convinced that they can see infrared as well.
I
Um,
would say so. Yeah.
so their vision range must be pretty wide, wider than ours, obviously.
Well, I think we used to hold this ability,
Okay.
and I think humans have lost the adaptation to being able to see ultraviolet and infrared. Um, there was a word for ultraviolet in Sumerian that meant angel vision.
Really?
Uh-huh. And in a lot of these secret societies, there's hidden writings in the UV that you just can't see. So you can put UV to old writings, even like I really am super curious about the pyramids in Egypt, or like down in Mexico
See,
and the
man,
Aztec
I wish
pyramids.
I
Because
had
like if
talked
you
to you 10 years ago, 20 years ago, like, because I lived in Egypt for a year.
oh
I would
wow,
have loved to hit that flex of the UV flashlight, man.
well, because
I
like
can't believe
you
that
can
they haven't done that though. That maybe they have. Who knows?
maybe they have, but that would be secret knowledge,
Yeah.
right? Because who knows what that says?
Mm.
And anywhere around the world, really, like you could go to a Hindu temple and maybe find something hidden in there. Because there's a lot of hidden sacred knowledge in those temples too.
You got my brain churning.
But like as far as our ability to see this, when people take psychedelics, specifically like mushrooms, what they're describing in their trip is all these crazy neon colors.
Uh-huh.
And when you go into the pot shops and you look at the posters of what they're trying to represent, what they're seeing, when I take my UV flashlight out in the forest and I'm looking at stuff like lichen and other small
Yeah, that's
plants,
what you're seeing,
it,
man.
they're lighting up in those colors. So, what I think is happening is when you take these psychedelics, all it's doing is causing synapses in your brain that don't normally connect to fire. And so, your trip, where you think you're hallucinating and seeing these colors that shouldn't be there, you're actually just tapping into the ability to see ultraviolet.
It's a hell of a theory.
It would make a lot of
It
sense.
would. It would. Definitely.
There's actually a really cool study that it says that every human on this planet is born with stripes and dots on their skin that only show up in UV, but it's a very specific frequency. So even when I have my flashlight out, you can't see it with the flashlight. It's like a further range that you can't
Yeah.
detect normally. And it's got me really pondering the origins of war paint, because eventually once humans get fire and we're adapting from being completely able to see UV and be in night vision mode, and then we start putting fires in our camps and we're relying on torchlight, you lose the ability to use that ultraviolet vision.
Well, I mean, that's why when you let yourself adapt to the night, that's why they call it visual purple,
Mm-hmm.
because you're going
And
deeper into that UV spectrum.
absolutely. And so I think war paint wasn't meant for the purpose of war originally. I think it was a way of uh, representing those stripes and spots that we're born with, that they lost the ability to see. And so it was a way of communicating, this is what we are, really. Like the very spiritual significance of that would have been profound to them.
I mean, even when in war, though, it would have been the significance of friend and foe.
Oh,
It's
sure.
marking, you know who you're.
Where you come
Yeah,
from.
and so you
Like,
know who your allies are and who aren't. So it's like this is one of the reasons that we do these patches. It's for it because people that have used it, it cuts way down on friendly fire because we're the only
oh,
ones with
sure.
them. So if you're shooting at somebody that you can't thoroughly identify, this is a way to completely identify, and war paint would do the same thing.
That's genius. The only monkey wrench in that is those new contact lenses that have just come out on the market that let you see in the infrared spectrum, and they're powered uh, just by the blinking of your eyes and the motion of you looking
It's
around.
madness.
Mm-hmm. They say you can actually read better in the infrared when your eyes are closed. Like you can see when your eyes are closed.
That's
So
insane.
in terms of spycraft, that is like next
Yeah,
level.
you ain't kidding. You ain't kidding, buddy.
But I mean that totally changes the realm of investigation too, because now you can put in these night vision. What's the word I'm looking for? Oh, I'm having such a brain fart.
Like night vision goggles in your eyes.
Yeah, yeah. And so you can just walk around without having equipment on your face and just see it like natively, basically.
Right. That's wild. That's wild.
So that story of my friend seeing the UFO in the infrared when he had the binoculars up. Well, now you have your binoculars up constantly.
Yeah.
You don't have to take them down.
Right.
So as you're walking around, you can see this stuff. Now, what are we going to find?
I don't know.
Right?
I mean, I've spent many, many, many hours with night vision goggles on, walking around the woods.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah, man, that's crazy. Just to think about all that stuff,
If there
man.
was a way to blend that with the UV,
Oh
I'm
yeah,
sure you
dude,
would
you'd
find some
be
really cool
dangerous.
stuff.
Literally dangerous.
Oh yeah.
For sure. Wow. Um, have you ever had a Class A sighting?
I haven't.
Yeah, I haven't. I
The
haven't
the
really
tree
either, but
shaking and the bluff charge was probably about the closest I've ever come.
gotcha. I've seen an outline of a Head and Shoulders twice, but never
Okay.
like, oh, it's black or it's cinnamon colored or, never like that.
Yeah.
But yeah. Now I know plenty of people that have, but wow,
Maybe one day. I've
maybe.
seen plenty of other things, but
Well, you're in the
not
right
a
area,
Sasquatch
man.
yet.
I mean, I go to the right spots, but that place is just crawling. Man.
It is. I went to a local Bigfoot conference, and I got to talk to the local BFRO agent, and I didn't give him specifics of location. I only like loosely told my stories, and he recounted some of his, and he's like, if you ever want to see one, go to such and such a lake, sit on a lawn chair right around the edge of it, and you'll see something around the edge of the lake in the tree line. And where he's talking about is like 10 kilometers away on that ridge line.
Wow.
So not the one that I camped at, but it's an upper lake that's quite small.
Yeah.
So I got some corroboration from a BFRO agent of my hunting area, which is
Absolutely.
really cool.
That is cool. Man. So one of the things, this podcast name is Broadcasting Seeds, right? So one of the things I like to ask guests to do is leave a couple, like plant some seeds in these folks'
some
minds.
seeds.
You know what I mean? Just like
Yeah.
words of wisdom and or things that, plant some seeds.
I can do that. And, my seed that I would plant would definitely be about this ultraviolet communication that happens in nature all the time that we don't pick up on.
Yeah.
And so it is out of our mindset. There's so much going on between, insects and flowers and the birds and the bees and all of that. Like, there's levels of communication we haven't even discovered
yeah,
yet,
I mean,
because
just the night part, I
so
don't
much
even
of this
think
is
about
so
that.
new.
I don't even think about it. Like
Even the daytime ultraviolet communication. So like, think of a daisy and how it's just like this pure white petaled flower with a yellow center. But what a bee notices is it can actually hear the plant clicking. They can actually communicate with a sound that we can't hear. And the flower can actually hear the buzzing of the beehive off in the distance. So the flower will turn its head towards where bees are, and it will communicate to the bee. The bee will kind of hear that, head towards that direction. When it looks at the flower, it doesn't see a pure white petaled flower, it sees all these little runways that run down the center of the flower petals that are only visible in the ultraviolet. So it really entices the bees to land on them. The bees have a positive charge, the flowers have a negative charge. So when the bee lands on the flower, it doesn't have to rub up against all the pollen to get it to collect on its legs. It's actually a magnetic exchange. So when they land on that flower, it jumps to the bee, they collect their nectar, and when the bee leaves that flower, it's then exchanged charges so that when the the next bee comes along and looks at that flower, it'll sense that it doesn't have the same charge as the other ones, and it will go to the next flower where it's not been pollinated yet.
Wow. Just wild. I can imagine at night that the forest must look totally different in ultraviolet, right? Like,
It very much reminds me of the movie Avatar,
yeah,
where
exactly.
not everything is lit up, but a good portion of it
Right.
is. And some things like will go such crazy wild colors than you would ever expect. I mean, even an apple on an apple tree. I've gone up and looked at them and they go like neon blue.
Well, because if you think about it, it's like the opposite. Like, I wonder what, like, so really bright colored animals in nature usually mean
Mm,
bad. Like, don't go near them, right?
mm,
In the visual spectrum that we have. I wonder what they
yes.
look like in the ultraviolet, you know, like,
Well, I mean, everyone kind of knows that scorpions will glow in the dark in the
yes,
UV, but that is like a UV signature. So that's a warning.
but it's like, it
One
seems
thing
like a
that
lot of food might go bright because it's like, eat me, right? Or something.
mm, kind of, I mean, there's a lot of nighttime moths and whatnot, like the little green guys that you see flying
Yeah.
around. When you hit them with the UV, they pop, like they're really bright. Wasps actually will be really bright, and their wasp hive itself goes this really cool yellow color. Um, Toads, I've observed, they don't fluoresce in the UV except for their pupils. So that would indicate to me that they can see it, but they're hiding from it because they're an ambush predator.
Yeah.
So they will hide in the darkness of under a log or whatnot. They'll see a critter that does fluoresce, so they can see that, and then all of a sudden they just jump out and munch them down. So again, nature gives it the advantage of being able to see it, but it also masks it from the UV. So really cool to think about.
For sure. Wow. Man. Anything else?
One more thing. I got to have a conversation with Dr. Jeff Meldrum one time at another conference in Spokane, Washington. And I proposed all these theories to him as well. And he told me, I have it on good authority that Sasquatch hair will
Oh,
fluoresce. And I found a picture of a chimpanzee on the internet, a little baby one. And when they put it in the ultraviolet, it goes a very cool green color.
wow. Mm.
Another thing to think about is not everything sees color the same way. And Sasquatch sometimes is described as that very reddy brown color, or like kind of orangey like an
Yeah.
orangutan. And prey species like deer actually can't see the color red or orange.
Right.
And what they see instead is another shade of green. So tigers use this to maximum effect. So when they're hiding in the grass, they just look like a blend of green and black. And so the deer can't see them. They actually have to have a symbiotic relationship with monkeys that can see red and orange,
To
that let
warn
the
them.
deer
Yeah.
know that there's a tiger nearby.
So crazy.
But here in North America, the deer don't have that kind of symbiosis. So when you got a Sasquatch hiding in the woods that's that color, not only does it blend in with the cedar bark that's in the forest, but the deer can't see that color. And so it just looks like a big blotch of
Green
green.
blob.
Yep.
That's wild. Chuckie, man, you got my brain freaking rattled, brother. Tell everybody again where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on Spotify right now at the Danger Zone Podcast with Chuckie Danger, or you can find me on Instagram at Chuckie_Danger, and I post a lot of these UV photos in there, and I do a lot of nature photography
the
as well.
Instagram. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, man. I really appreciate you coming on and having a chat, and we'll do it again soon.
Yeah, that's been really fun.
Whispers carried on the unseen.